Okay. No problem. We'll just put Nick on the spot. Oh, sorry. The Dumfries Town Council meeting Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. Are we going to call the meeting to order? Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Brown,
Present.
Councilman Fields.
Here.
Councilwoman Miles,
Present.
Councilwoman Neville, Councilman Pete,
Present.
Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Here.
Mayor Wood.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we will have a silent moment of prayer and reflection. Please remember, as we go into this, think about the conflict that's going over in Ukraine and Russia over there. To go over and everybody that's involved. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please be seated. All right, next on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
All right, it's been moved by the Vice Mayor.
Second.
All right, second by Councilwoman Miles. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Pete.
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
That'll be a yes for me. The agenda carries 6-0. All right, next on our agenda is the approval of the March 1st minutes.
Mayor, I move we approve the minutes from March 1st.
Okay, it's been properly moved.
Second.
Second, where was the second? Brown, Councilman Brown? Okay,
Brown.
all right. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll call for the question. Move right on. Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles,
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
That'll be a yes for me. Okay, the minutes have now been approved. All right, next on our agenda is our citizen comment period.
Mayor, you do not have anyone signed up to speak on tonight.
All right, no citizen signed up to speak. Outstanding, we're moving right along. All right then, next on our agenda is our reports and presentations. We'll have our first presentation from Retail Strategies. The Retail Strategies groups, the mic and the floor is yours. Yes, at the podium.
Perfect. And as far as switching the slides, what do,
Just say next slide and
okay,
they'll get you moving. You could maybe start out, introduce yourself and all
yeah,
of that.
absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing us to come present to you tonight. My name is Beth Miller with Retail Strategies, and the rest of our team is here as well, Micah and Julia. We appreciate it. We really just wanted to come tonight to kind of go over the first 9 months of our partnership, really kind of tell you guys what we've been doing so far. I will say that a lot of the retailer names and things like that, we do have to keep that confidential at this time because this is obviously a public setting. But we've been doing a whole lot and we got a lot of really great traction. So want to go ahead and just get started. Please feel free to jump in, ask questions. We can save it for the end, however you guys want to do it. Okay, next slide, please. One more. Okay, first of all, as I mentioned, I'm Beth Miller. I'm the portfolio director for the state of Virginia, and I am the direct point of contact with Mayor Wood as well as Keith. And Micah and Julia are both retail recruiters. So day in, day out, I'm the main point of contact, making sure that I share all the information with our Dumfries team. And Micah and Julia spend the majority of their time really making outreach to property owners, retailers, restaurants that are expanding in the state of Virginia. You'll see there the leadership team. We have a really large team. We're based in Birmingham, Alabama, for those who may not know. And we've got a team of over 40 people. And the leadership team you'll see there, I'll give a brief background to just kind of where we came from and who our company is. So we were born out of our sister company is a traditional retail brokerage house out of Birmingham, Alabama. They work all over the Southeast. And about 13 years ago, the owners of our company, Robert and Mead, basically were going into municipalities and saying, working on deals, working on a big retailer coming to the market. And they were saying, hey, what can you guys help us with? What do you have that we can show this retailer? And so they would look at, they would pull this old dusty report off the shelf, and it was old demographic information, things like that. And they're going, wow, this is all they have. So they really saw that in most places, there was a real disconnect between the retail real estate world and municipalities. A lot of times economic development is traditionally focused on manufacturing or those types of things, and retail was sort of getting overlooked. A lot of people sort of felt like that would follow naturally. Well, what we come in there and do is we really want to make sure we're bringing the right retail that the community wants and who they really want to see in the market. You'll see there we're supported down there at the bottom by our marketing team who have created wonderful flyers on behalf of Dumfries and kind of really help us with our marketing and our conferences we attend and things like that. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, we partnered officially June 1st of last year with Dumfries. So we've been partnered really only 9 months, which is very exciting for us for as much as we have going on already. But you can see there on the outside circle how our process really works, which is what I'm going to dive into today. But we really start with the market analysis and then lead into our strategic plan, which then leads into our phase that we're in now, which is our active retail recruitment phase, where we're actually making outreach, talking to property owners, talking to landowners in town, as well as talking to the retailers. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, I know there's a lot on this slide, and I'm going to look down a little bit because I've got it up here too, and it's hard for me to see that far. But this really explains how our process works in what we call our discovery phase, which is our first 90 to 100 days of our partnership. So you can see there, the beginning is really us identifying the true trade area. A customized trade area is what we put together, which we show to retailers, which shows well beyond the municipal boundaries, because people are obviously coming to shop and eat and things like that within the community that are coming way beyond those boundaries. We run what we call a void analysis, a gap analysis, really to see also where dollars are leaving the market. So what are people leaving Dumfries and what are they spending those dollars on, and how can we try to capture as many of those dollars back into the community? We do also peer market analysis, which basically we look at other markets in the region who compare demographically to Dumfries. And then we look at the list of retailers that they have that we don't have here. So then we can go to those retailers and say, hey, you're in all these markets that are very, very similar. Why have you not looked at Dumfries? And then hopefully we put that site in front of them and really get their attention. So next, what we do after we really study the numbers and the demographic information is we came to the market. So last June 15th, Micah and I were in the market. We drove every inch of Dumfries with Mayor Wood, looked at every site that might be available, sites that maybe there's a higher and better use for, and really just looked at what was available. So we catalog all that information into our system, and we really we pull everything from every little site that we look at, every property, every existing property, every piece of land. And what we do is we come in and we look at who's the leasing agent, who is the owner, what's their contact information, what's the price that these people are looking for, and really just catalog all that information. So we combine that with what we've looked at as far as all the demographics are telling us of who's missing. And we really try to play matchmaker and bring those retailers that make sense for the market to the sites that make sense for them. So we know what all these retailers need. We know if they need an acre of land. We know if they need an existing space of 10,000 square feet. We catalog all that information. So we know who we're reaching out to. And that's what really sets us apart, because these retailers know that we know what they're looking for. Okay, so the retail industry is very much of a who's who and who knows who, and it's a relationship-based industry. So these people know that we're not going to come to them with the wrong size site or whatever, some misinformation. So they're going to answer our calls. They're going to return our emails when we send them a site that they know it's a very valid site for them. So at that point, we bring all this information together. Also, I didn't mention, we really track what's going on in the industry as far as who's growing, who's not. We spend so much of our time reading news articles and knowing who's growing and who's closing stores. So we're ahead of that. If we know somebody's going to close all their stores, we're already sending that site to other people. So at that point, we put all of this information together, and we then presented our retail recruitment plan to the mayor and to Keith, and really basically said, here's what makes sense. Here's the lowest hanging fruit. Here are the retailers that make sense. And basically said, are we on the right track? Does everyone agree? And so once we kind of got that blessing, we moved into our active retail recruitment phase. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, I mentioned earlier the customized trade area, and this is the one piece of demographic information. I will not bore you with all of the demographic information. It's thousands of pages of information. But the mobile data collection is a really cool tool that we use that actually our company started using about 5 years ago. And about 5 years ago, when we started using it, a lot of the retailers were saying, what is this? We're not sure about this. It's kind of funny now because all the retailers use this information now. It's kind of taken the place of the old credit card information, when people would track where people were shopping from by their zip code on their credit card. But basically what this does is it tracks where your cell phone, basically we can draw a polygon around any location. This specific one we did from Walmart, which I understand is north of town, but is the largest retailer close to where we are. So basically what we did is we looked at the cell phones that entered that location within a year time frame. And then we can, if you have your location services on your phone, which the majority of us do, whether we know or not, if you're running a traffic app, a weather app, whatever it might be, and any of that is on, when you enter that Walmart, it tracks where that phone sleeps at night. So it's the most likely their home location. So from that, you can see the darker purple, and then it gets out a little lighter, but that is where those phones sleep at night and where they have shopped in the Walmart. So that gives us real ammunition to tell that story of where people are coming from. Next slide, please. So from that, we're able to draw what we call our customized trade area. So that little polygon that we drew, according to the mobile tracking, according to where other Walmarts are located, this really gives us a true idea of where those consumers are coming from. Next slide, please. So within that shape that we just showed you, this is just we can pull all the demographic information from that shape that we drew. So this shows that population of over 112,000 people, which obviously is a very different story than the population of the town, right? So when we're talking to these retailers, we're showing them this. And I mean, you look at that growth rate, a 10% growth rate in that polygon is just unreal. So these are very good numbers that we're able to tell the story as we're talking to retailers about Dumfries. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, as I mentioned earlier, we presented our retail recruitment plan to the Dumfries team on September 1st. And it was a 90-slide presentation going over all the demographics, going over the mobile tracking data, and really who these prospects are and who makes the most sense for the market. Next slide, please. So from that point, when we kind of got our blessing, as I mentioned earlier, that's when we started our active retail recruitment phase, which is when myself and Julia and Micah really get to kind of start the fun stuff. So we started making outreach, as I mentioned, to the listing agents or the property owners in town, introducing ourselves, basically telling them that the town has invested in Dumfries by our help. So, a lot of times brokers will look at us sometimes and they'll say like, what do you want? Why are you trying to help me? Well, this is an investment that the town made in the property owners. And so basically we tell them we are free help to you, and just, thank the town for investing in this. So we really gather all that information from them, really try to find what they're looking for, understand their pricing structure. And at that point, we start reaching out to the retailers and saying, hey, we've got a perfect site for you. So we'll talk about numbers of outreach here in a minute, but when we really are looking at our prospect list, we're not sending, I'm going to show you how many retailers we've reached out to here here to in a second. And that's not a blast email. That's not what we're sending. So when we're sending these emails and making these phone calls, they are crafted to a specific site. We always say we want to serve it up on a silver platter to them, because these guys are looking at, they're getting people to send them 15 sites a day. And if half of them, they're not even having the time to look at, but they know what we're sending them is valid information and something that they really should take a look at. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, initially, this is ever changing, but we identified 90 plus prospects that make sense for the town of Dumfries, in our opinion. This is ever evolving. This is ever changing. New concepts are coming into play. People are changing their strategy. People that used to not look at smaller towns are looking at smaller towns, or vice versa. So we're really trying to track that. And this is an ever changing number. So within the first 9 months, and truthfully, that's really within probably the past 6 months, because that was when we got past our retail recruitment presentation phase, we have already reached out to over 35 retailers. And we have spoken with 9 brokers or property owners representing properties in the town. Next slide, please. So you'll see here already, we have 6 active retail restaurant leads in progress. And this means that we have this many people who have said, we like Dumfries, we like the market, we like the site you sent, and we're working through details right now. So this is, like I said, this is very exciting. This is a big number for this stage of the game. Retail deals take time. It's a long process, but to already have this much activity and interest at this stage is very exciting. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, as I mentioned, just real estate deals take time. And this really kind of goes into what all goes into these deals and why do they take so much time. So the average smaller retailer, as I would say, you start talking about big box retailers, the time frame grows exponentially. But the average deal from when someone says, we're interested in the market, we like the site, is 18 to 36 months before cash registers are ringing. So you can kind of see along this whole timeline here, especially with these national retailers, you're talking about it's coming down from the investors and coming down from Wall Street. And the way these companies grow and make more money is either they grow in-store sales or they open new locations. So once they decide what is needed, what the investors want for the company, they say, we need you to do 100 stores this year. And so that goes down to the real estate director, and he has to go find 100 new stores, And so these guys are super busy. They're super, they will overlook a market if you don't, give them exactly what they're looking for. So this just kind of explains that, obviously things can get lost in a real estate deal at any point in this, but this just kind of gives the time frame a little bit of how those work. Next slide, please. So another thing that I have not kind of gotten to yet, but another thing that we provide for the town is we represent you guys at the big real estate trade shows. So Recon is the biggest show of the year that's in Las Vegas every year. So we are out there representing you at these shows. So ICSC, we actually talked about this earlier with the mayor. It used to be called the International Council of Shopping Centers, and they have recently changed their name, and they are now, I mess this up every time because I've been a member of ICSC for 17 years and it was always International Council of Shopping Centers, but they've expanded so much to really trying to help communities. And it's not as much just, I think it was in the 70s, 80s when they started. And that was when everything was a shopping center. That's all that was being built at that time. So now they are innovating commerce and serving communities, which has really been a cool transition to watch because they are so much more interested in the municipalities and the communities across the country. Actually, Lacey Beasley, who the mayor actually met this week, she is the president of Retail Strategies, and she was actually just added to the board of directors for ICSC. And so that's a pretty large group, and these are a lot of retail real estate people in the industry. She's only the second person that has anything to do with municipalities. So this is really a big deal. It's a really big deal that she sort of has the ear of these people in this real estate industry to focus on communities, which is obviously what we do day in, day out, is try to help communities. So to have her there and have her voice being heard is just, it's a very cool thing. So we represent you at these shows. We normally send a large team to the Vegas show. There are also regional shows that we represent you at. So there's always a show at National Harbor, the Mid-Atlantic show. It was actually postponed this year when COVID got bad again. It's normally March. Myself and the team will attend that show. It's looking like it's being postponed till potentially June, but we're keeping an eye on that, and we will be representing you then, and it may be right after Vegas in May. So once we get back from Vegas, we're always continuously updating the mayor and Keith on what's going on and these conversations we're having with the retailers, and we'll have a full update, after the Recon show in May. Next slide, please. So in closing, this is really just a summary of our process. And it's just always changing. I mentioned that prospect list that is ever changing. The demographics change. We update those demographics for you once a year at least. As we get updates within our system, those are updated and shared with you. But yeah, we're always following the trends, as I mentioned, and just very, very excited about everything we have going on. And I can't thank you enough for having us here tonight and letting us kind of tell you what's been going on. So happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you for that presentation. Council, any questions? See you there. Mr. Fields, and then I'll come down and see you.
I don't have a question, but I have a great comment, I believe.
Okay.
I like your energy. I like the presentation.
Uh-huh.
I like the energy of the team and what they're invested into the town and working with the town manager and the mayor. I think it's great. There are a lot of hidden opportunities here in our town. And one of my motto is live, work, play Dumfries. We can do everything right here in Dumfries. So bringing some good stuff. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councilwoman Miles.
Well, ditto to what everything my colleague has said. I see you guys have put a lot of work into our town, and we definitely appreciate all your work that you've done. Would you mind sharing? I know you can't tell us. You can't give us any hints. Would you mind sharing some other localities you've worked with? Maybe we could get a picture of effect if we.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a handful of names first and then kind of tell you some of the wins we've maybe had. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a handful of clients in Southern Virginia. So we work with Emporia and South Hill, as well as Farmville and Martinsville. I'm trying to go that way. Pulaski County is one of our newer clients. We also work in Fauquier County, up where Warrenton is. So those are some of our, I think that's the majority of our clients right now in the markets. Okay, so we have had multiple Starbucks we've brought to some of those markets. We have got Dunkin' Donuts that we've done. I'm trying to jump over to Martinsville, Starbucks, Ollie's. Sorry, this is off the top of my head. I'm trying to think. Help me.
Our sandwich user.
Popeyes, Jimmy John's. Restaurants is the largest growing category right now. So that obviously, and that has only sort of been accelerated with COVID. A lot of those quick service restaurants are, the fastest growing category right now.
Well, thank you so much. And then also Farmville is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm definitely excited to see what the final result is. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Brown.
So, thanks.
Absolutely.
I really am intrigued about the demographics. We call ourselves doing surveys and gathering information, but I'm a data person.
Right.
And normally numbers don't lie. People lie by numbers.
Right.
So the validation part. So you're using the one piece that you're using about the mobile apps and location on your phone. How does that validate? That's just one set of data.
It is.
So how do you validate that with anything else?
Well, when we really draw that true customized trade area, we're looking at multiple things. Part of it is, it is our opinion, really drawing that true customized trade area. But we're looking at other locations and proximity to other locations. And that really is showing us where those people are coming from. And we draw those differently. So I'll say that too. So, the Walmart gives us a kind of a true kind of regional trade area. But, we can look at the Dollar General. If we're looking at, it's different if we're looking at a fast food restaurant, we'll run one from the McDonald's to see where people are coming to that McDonald's from. So that may be a smaller trade area because people aren't going to drive as far for a Dairy Queen as they are for Walmart, right? So those trade areas that we are creating are customized to whomever it is that we're reaching out to. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I wasn't criticizing
Right.
how you collect.
Yeah.
Just trying to see how do you balance that out? It's one thing just to pull data from that one source using the phone, but there's other methods to collect data, and that's the thing that I'm.
Absolutely. And so what we do is we also have, and we've got a marketing flyer I'm happy to show you for what we're showing. But, a lot of the retailers are very specific. They want to know a 10-minute drive time. Period. That's all they're going to look at, and I mean, we can try to talk till we're blue in the face to tell them something different, but they want to see that 10-minute drive time, or they want to see a 20-mile radius. And so we have all that information. And so that's part of the data that is posted on our internal base camp that Keith and Mayor have access to. So sometimes it's not, but we really rely on that mobile tracking when we're trying to tell the true story beyond just those typical rings.
Well, thank you. And I'm expecting Amazon.
Right there. I'm working on it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilman Pete. I see. Okay. Yes.
Want to say great presentation, and I'm looking forward to the ending process.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So I mirror everyone else's sentiment. Great presentation, very interesting, especially when you talked about the mobile data. It's intriguing and, it almost seems intrusive at the same time. Not that that's your fault.
We say that all the time. I'm like, it is so big brother.
Exactly. Councilwoman Miles actually asked you one of the questions I was going to ask you. The second question that I had was, we are a HEAL community, healthy eating and living. So as you all are, kind of soliciting the interest from these retailers, it's important to us that we do have some healthy eating alternatives in this area. And I just want to ask you all to keep that in mind, because fast food is great, right? But in a food desert like we're in right here in the town of Dumfries, it's important that we have some healthy options.
Completely understand. And, also, I would also recommend if there's concepts you see regionally that you want us to reach out to, please hand that and contact me directly, send that through the mayor, send it through Keith. We do have access, and this is something I really didn't mention, but we do have a program that helps us pull for our prospect list regional concepts. The three of us spend a lot of time in Virginia, so we see a lot of regional concepts, but we do know we live in Alabama most of the time. So, anytime, shoot us an email, send me a text, whatever it is of, hey, have you guys tried to run this down? And we're happy to run it down and try to get an answer.
Great, thank you.
Listen, great. It's always intriguing. I remember I was gung-ho when I first became the mayor and tried to do this on my own. And I remember I wanted Trader Joe's. And I started calling every office in Trader Joe's, and I got to the real estate developer, and he's looking at me like, we ain't coming to Dumfries. It's just, and so just to have somebody to break it down, with the timeline, to give us the understanding that, it takes time to bring retail. And as we begin to develop our Main Street to be able to give it that character and identity, can you talk a little bit why retail is important as a catalyst in our community for economic development?
Absolutely. I mean, we strongly feel that, a lot of people, you'll hear them say, oh, retail will follow. I mean, if the houses are here, if the jobs are here, retail will follow. We sort of believe the opposite. I mean, if you want people in your community, they want those things already. They want, it really does spur that economic development. I mean, it's really the kind of the opposite of your traditional thinking as far as what retail does. But especially with the millennial generation sort of coming through, it is so much more important to that generation of the quality of life and to being able to have those restaurants and those shops that they want to go to. And it really, I mean, people are figuring out they can work anywhere, so they want to live in communities that really have those things that they desire.
No, I think that's definitely a great, and we seen that in the community to the north of us. They started with a grocery store, Wegmans, and they built an entire town and community, and now they're building a bunch of houses. They built all the shops in the middle of this mountain that they cut down. It was the grocery store first, and then we just saw all this retail. And you know, we hear oftentimes from certain developers, they tell us, no, you don't have enough density. Focus on the density first, bring in more. But just to hear somebody refresh and say, no, we can get the retail and all the rest of the
And
density.
it just builds and it's a snowball.
You know, will follow. So that's great. Did anybody have any other comments or questions? Mr. Rogers, did we miss you? Okay, I'm just making sure. I didn't see you down there. Ladies, again, thank you all for making the trek out here from Alabama. And I guess thank y'all for everything y'all do in the Commonwealth. We've heard great things in the city of Emporia from what you're doing down there right now. So we know some of the exciting things. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the town manager's report. That's what he was saving his comments for.
Thank you, Mayor. I simply had one item to remind the community that on Thursday, March 17th, we will be having a Route 1 widening update meeting. This will be hosted by our partner, Prince William County. The information is available on the Prince William County website as well as the Town of Dumfries website. And this meeting will be held again on Thursday at 6 p.m. It will be fully virtual and you will be able to ask questions at that time. But for additional information about how to submit comments before or view the information after, please visit the Town of Dumfries website as well as the Prince William County website. And thank you to Retail Strategies for a wonderful presentation.
Council, any questions on the town manager's report? Whose light is that on? Oh, it's my light. Oh, that was my light. It is my light. It was just reflecting through the glass. All right, so, oh man, we're moving right along. I think I had one question. The community workshops that we host in do we have any upcoming events coming up in the month of March or April that we need to let the community know about?
Quantico Creek cleanup.
Oh, it is. Can you give us some details on that, the date and everything? Thanks.
We will get that answer for you in one moment, Mayor.
I think it's the first Saturday in April.
April 8th.
No, second.
April 9th.
Okay, April 9th. What time? Okay,
Please
take 8 o'clock.
Visit dumfriesva.gov.
Yeah, 8:30. So we'll have a Quantico Creek cleanup. We're looking for volunteers to come out who want to serve the community. It's usually a great event. The Boys Club, the Boys Club. The Boy Scouts usually come out, and a whole lot of organizations, even some of the Greek organizations come out, and they all kind of go down, and we really get out there and clean up the creek and the streets, and so it's a great day. I know Rosie's has reached out. They got some of their employees that's going to put in some volunteer time. So anybody who got work organizations and want their staff to get some community service hours, hey, they're all welcome to participate that day in the hey, dress in clothes that you don't mind getting wet and dirty. Thank you, Mr. Rogers, for that update. Oh, Mr. Fields.
One thing, Mr. Rogers, two things. A lot of people ask about the Route 1 widening project. If you could elaborate a little bit more without going into depth of how important it is maybe to attend this meeting, the things that they can find out and all that. And if it's appropriate or not, could you tell us what happened to one of our hotels that left, or is that not appropriate to ask? Not appropriate to ask? Good deal.
Thank you, Councilman. So yes, this meeting that's coming up this Thursday is very important. As everyone may recall, the Route 1 widening project has been the town's top priority for many years. A few years ago, we were able to receive full funding for that project to bring it to fruition. The meeting on Thursday will share the updated design of the roadway, which has been gone through value engineering since the town has transitioned the management of the project from VDOT to Prince William County. As Route 1 is still a major federal highway, VDOT still has oversight. So the three agencies, the town, the county, VDOT, as well as NVTA, our funding partner, we are all sharing in this project. And so we want the community to make comment about the updated design. There are a number of property owners that are along the Route 1 corridor. So we want to make sure that they have the latest information, as well as this is a key transportation point throughout the entire town. So we want to make sure that the residents and the community have the opportunity to, number one, see the updated design, which we feel has been enhanced, but also to provide feedback and get the latest information and be able to interact with the engineers and project personnel. So I hope that was brief and also informative.
Very, very, very brief, very informative. I'm glad to hear that. As you know, I engage a lot with the social media aspect of what's going on in town. And I always refer back to, hey, the Route 1 widening project is going to take care of your concerns. So if the citizens would just tune in and stop speculating, because I cannot explain everything, but our town manager did a wonderful job on that. But let's tune into that, and I'm quite sure a lot of your questions will be answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I would just add too, one of the things we want to make sure that residents understand is that we care about Route 1, but it is a federal highway. It is VDOT's maintenance responsibility. So while we have a vested interest in the widening project, some of the issues and concerns, as you stated, are broader issues that go beyond just our local town government. However, once the widening is completed, we will have our very own nice main street that we will be in charge of. And so many of those concerns will be alleviated at that time.
Yeah, with that said, you know, we as a council, we're concerned about all our property owners, all of the residents here. We're going to speak up and try to make sure that your voices are heard. Again, as I think both Mr. Rogers and him said, this is the largest grant that Dumfries has ever received for a project. And it's for something that we don't even own. Like, we got over $130 million grant, right, for a road that we don't own. Last year, we secured an additional $50 million for project overruns, making this $180 million grant that the town of Dumfries received for a road that they don't even own. So, I mean, I think that's just unparalleled, just to know that we've secured that kind of money to help move this project along. That just shows how important this project has been to the town of Dumfries for so many years. So, Mr. Rogers, that's a testament to you and your staff for continuing to do all that work. And we appreciate y'all fighting for the concerns of our residents and our business owners.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Brown.
So just want clarification for myself. So this meeting, is it informative, or we, the citizens of the town of Dumfries, do we have input on changing the design? I want to make sure that we are managing expectations. So if the design is going to be presented on Thursday, how impactful will the town of Dumfries have in changing if we feel that a change needs to be made?
Thank you, Councilman. That is an important point. I want to make sure that we can manage expectations. So this is a presentation with a Q&A. With that being said, particularly for the property owners along the corridor, they have been engaged, will continue to be engaged with staff, engineers, and the entire project team. So what I would say is that we would take questions and comments into consideration as the design is finalized. But the purpose of Thursday's meeting is to receive a presentation and have opportunity for question and answer with the project team.
Thanks, sir.
All right, next, Ms. Pete, did you have something? I'm sorry, I see you pushing.
Yeah, town manager, if I'm not mistaken, you just said you would take questions and answers on when the design is finalized.
Thursday's meeting, did you get that, Mr. Pete?
Oh, no, he was muted.
Say it again. Go on. questions and answers. It'll be a Q&A at Thursday. This is, Town of Dumfries is participating with the county, and the county is hosting.
Thank you, man. I'm tracking.
No problem. All right. Seeing no further questions, we'll get to our final item on the agenda today, which is actually a public hearing. Consideration of an ordinance to approve a conditional use permit application filed by Pooch Perfect Pet Spa. Did I say that right? Pooch Perfect Pet Spa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So before you tonight, you have a application for CUP 2022-001, and this was applied for by Pooch Perfect Pet Spa. Next slide, please. What they are applying for is a conditional use permit to run a dog/pet grooming facility at 17742 Main Street, which is diagonally across the street from this location. Next slide, please. So throughout this process, I've worked with the property owner and the owner of the business over the last month or so to ensure that they meet the criteria for the CUP approval. And on the screen right now is the criteria that you all need to evaluate this by. Next slide, please. Location and character, as I just stated before, it's the site's diagonally across the street from us. The site's around 0.2 acres. It's located on the corner of Main Street and Washington Street. There's currently 3 primary structures on the property. They're going to be demolishing the one in the rear. So the one that's white in the rear is going to be demolished. It's currently condemned. It's an unsafe structure, but for the purpose of tonight's meeting, the pet spa will be in the suite on the bottom left. So not the barbershop property, but it was a previous church that is currently vacant. They will be taking that over. It's approximately 900 square feet. The pet spa owner is currently operating in a shed at her property in Prince William County. That's around half the size of this space. So the purpose of this is to expand. They're going to currently she has 2 other staff members as well as herself. There's going to be 2 additional jobs created by this move, as well as I'd like to point out that they are not taking any appointments until June at this time. They are not taking any new clients either. So they are poked out well in advance. And they will be the only other pet grooming facility in town besides the Dumfries Dumfries Animal Hospital. I'd also like to add too that with the parking requirement for this use, there's no defined parking rate in the zoning ordinance for this type of use, but what staff used was the parking rate for the veterinary clinic definition. And by using that parking rate, 3 spaces are required. There's going to be 10 provided. And there's going to be even more created once they demolish that house in the rear of the property. And next slide, please. I also failed to point out that this is located in the Dumfries historic district as well. So any exterior changes that are done on the property or any signs would need the approval by the ARB. But I have informed the owner of the property of this, and she's aware. But beyond that, I'd like to go to the recommendation. Staff feels that this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. What this use will do is bring a retail space that is in high demand in the area. I actually read something that dog ownership is at an all-time high during the pandemic, and there's a need for pet grooming facilities. And with this location along Main Street and the ample parking behind, and also the fact that there's a way for people to maneuver in and out of the lot fairly simply, both off of Main Street and Washington Street, makes this a fantastic location. It also is right near a residential area, so people might be able to bring their dogs on foot or in other forms of transportation that they at their current location they might not be able to do because it's too far away. But the other thing is it also aligns with the Main Street Small Area Plan, bringing a business where people will walk to and from and also drive to and from. Beyond that, staff concludes that the development proposal will not adversely affect the health, safety, and general welfare of the persons occupying the site, as well as those in the vicinity of the site. Beyond that, we recommend approval, and Planning Commission also recommended approval at tonight's meeting, subject to the development conditions that are in the approval ordinance attached to in your agenda packet tonight. That completes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you so much.
Great presentation. Council, any questions from council on the presentation? Mr. Brown, is that you?
Just a comment.
Yes.
I haven't seen you up here not being a proponent of these business owners that you're representing. So good job. And,
thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Town Manager.
Yeah, I want to say this is this is a great, being that the previous use was a nonprofit, it wasn't retail. You know, one of the chief complaints I remember when I was running for mayor is, Mayor, how many nonprofits are you going to have on Main Street? Are you going to bring some retail? And so now to be able to move from nonprofit to a for-profit retail business in this space, I think is a great to show that we're moving in a direction that citizens have asked us to move. As far as parking, I know you say there was no use, but one of the things I do want to note is that the town hall, I think, has public parking right here too as well. Yes. So, possibly, if there was overflow, I don't know. The question is, would the town hall parking would have been suffice with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I know town manager looked at me because we don't have crosswalks for people to cross the walks there safely yet, but safety is paramount. I just learned about Vision Zero while I was at a conference this week, so we had to talk about some of those tracks. So anyway, any other comments on this topic that we have here? Mr. Brown, Mr. Pete, did you have anything? I see you.
Yes.
Your mic was on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Don't we already have a grooming facility within the town? And I say that to say this. The town is only but so big. We have another grooming station right on the north side over there by Federal Park. And we have a grooming, we have it already, and they do an excellent job over there. So I'm not understanding why we're moving in the direction of put in place in another grooming facility within the town, and the town is only but so big.
That's a great question, Mr. Pete. And unfortunately, we don't have the monopoly rule in place where we're going to be able to allow one business to monopolize on all the other businesses. We have multiple McDonald's, multiple fast food restaurants, and unfortunately, we're not able to legislate and state we can only have one dog spa in the area. So, by conditional use, if we vote tonight, if you do choose to vote for it, this is allowable use and recommended by staff. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
And then you know, safety is one of my big concerns. And then you say for if that you know, I'm pretty sure we're all familiar of that space in there of parking. That's very small. And to say that the citizens should utilize for for dog grooming, and if they overflow, they can overflow into the town's parking lot area to cross over the congested Route 1 area, taking children and families across there. If there was an overflow of the parking and the grooming area, I just don't see this as a good idea, guys.
Thank you, sir. And just duly note on this that shed in the picture is going to be demolished. It's currently a condemned building, and it's
Yes,
going to be used for additional parking spaces.
Yes, correct. Yes. And I also would like to add too, I had the same question up here that was asked last night by a planning commissioner. And my answer to that is they aren't taking any new clients. So technically speaking, they won't be taking any clients away from the other facility in town at this point. But beyond that, there's not really much I could add besides that. Thank you so much, Mayor.
All right. Any other questions before I open up the public hearing from the council? Okay, seeing none, our public hearing will now be open. Is there anyone here today to speak on this matter at hand? Anybody from the public have any concerns or questions or support for this? None signed?
No one's signed.
All right. At this time, I will close the public hearing. All right. Council, was there any discussion based on the citizen comments that we heard? No? Okay. All right, seeing none, the recommendation from the staff is to approve the ordinance for conditional use permit CUP 2022-001 for dog grooming facility Pooch Perfect. That's 2 R's, throws me off. Perfect. Pet Spa for 17742 Main Street.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilwoman Miles. Second by the Vice Mayor. All right, seeing no further discussion, I'll call for the question. Councilman Pete?
No.
Okay, Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Okay, Councilman Fields?
Yes.
Councilwoman Miles?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
And that's a yes for me. That motion carries 5-1. And it's been approved. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Is that what's the name of it? All right. All right. Before we adjourn council, we had a citizen that came to make comments and she missed right when I called it. I'm gonna give her opportunity, 2 minutes to address the council with your comments. Please state your name and address for it.
17650 Colonial Street.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. I would like to address the entire community as a severely affected and adjacent landowner to the casino's main road entrance. We specifically requested in writing draft copies of the site plans, plan of development, back last year, December 2021, from Peninsula Pacific Entertainment. We were told these plans were not developed and therefore not available to view. But plans do exist because the site has been started. Our family and home is directly impacted by Peninsula Pacific Entertainment's Rosie's Casino project. We have asked questions rather than answer our questions. Rosie's Casino lowballs us at $200,000 and forces us to hire an attorney because we are being bullied by Peninsula Pacific Entertainment. Our family is the longest time landowner affected by this project. And I feel very disappointed that our town mayor and council could not be bothered to say, hey, can you leave? You can't leave only one resident on the site and not take care of them. I don't feel that our mayor or our council stepped up to look at the one and only family that's left on that street. Not to mention how insulting it is to have someone lowball you to that degree when our Prince William County real estate taxes are more than $200,000. And if you go to Zillow, the value of the land is even more. Instead, all of the business owners were paid, and as a family resident, we have not seen the plans. We have not had the questions answered. The town manager has been copied on emails that have gone back and forth. And again, this is a couple of your longest town residents. My dad is in his 90s. My mother is in her 80s. My mother served on this town council for several years and was a volunteer in the community.
That's your time. Thank you.
Wow.
So-
Is the mic, okay, I thought the mic was off.
Yeah, your time is up. We kind of extended it to you at the end, but we had.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Because the impact to our property and lifestyle is devastating. And the plans are there. So that's what I'm here to speak, and I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to let the whole state of Virginia know also, because I know that they want to set up shop down there in Richmond also. It's interesting, I was at the meeting and Pete Singh wasn't asked.
All right, council, at this time, our meeting is adjourned.